actually, we got to switch sides because I never had a good side, but now I do.
Absolutely no good.
Take it with me everywhere I go, and I will do a little sprinkle of that in here because I think it's important. I've been vegan for 19 years, and it was always important to me, but I didn't start speaking about it until maybe 2 years ago. I thought, as long as I'm not causing any harm, I'm absolved of this. I'm free. I've done all I can do, or all I need to do. But really, like, when there's an issue in the world and you just don't contribute to it, you're not stopping it. So that's why I'm gonna take just this moment to say, like, we can all choose to be kind to each other, to animals. I think this is more than just an animal rights issue, it's a human rights issue, because a lot of the humans, I mean, I don't like to kill things. You're in the military.
Yeah.
If somebody broke in here, or if something had to happen, I worked in law enforcement. I believe I could kill something if I needed to, someone.
You had to.
If you had to, but we don't have to. And so I think that's one area that we can choose to make that decision in one meal at a time. Maybe it's not all your meals, but cut down on it and then save people from having to be slaughterhouse workers.
Absolutely.
Imagine what it's like to kill 1,000 animals a day. I can't even fathom. I feel bad when I've hit a squirrel. It didn't make me feel good.
No.
And squirrels are annoying as hell. I'm not an animal lover, but I just don't want them to die.
Well, the thing is like the poor little squirrel crossing the street.
Yeah.
You know, gets up underneath the wheel. Well, that's the end of his story. You know, and that's just it's tough. But there's one thing that really resonated with me is like the choice and how we engage with the world. Yeah. You know, and I think that's one of the things. We were having fun out there, but we also talked about a lot of serious things and how that could help benefit us not only inside the gym but outside the gym.
Yeah, I think your story is so important here too, because Monkey Fist Grips is bigger than you.
Absolutely.
You are the creator. You're the face, the brand. I mean, that's why I wanted you in the video, but you lost part of your arm in service to our country. I'm allowed to have my job as an influencer because of people like you.
Well, thank you.
And for a few years, I put in my time at the jail. I was able now the rest of my life to live in a world like this because there are people that show up every day to work at jails, to be firefighters, to be policemen, to be law enforcement. Without those, us as civilians now can't live our lives. And so thank you for your service. And thank you then for even taking it a step further and saying, well, hey, I have this injury. What can I do to make my workouts better and give that to other people? So
absolutely. I think one of the coolest things is that, you know, and I've seen your content, you're more about less consumption and more of like creating and producing. And I think that's like a adventure that I've been in the last 3 years. I've been wanting to leave places better than how I found them. So I think that's why we make this like instant connection. We have, you know, the great content today. We weren't even trying, and it came out being great.
What is up, everybody? I'm the Bodybuilding Vegan, and today we have a video sponsored by Monkey Fist Grips. So we're gonna be taking you through a full shoulder day here. We are at MetroFlex in Brandon, one of the best gyms out this way. You'll run into a lot of pros, a lot of knowledgeable people, and it's kind of a cool, fun family vibe. So that's what I wanted to bring y'all out here today. And I'm just gonna run you through what a shoulder day might look like for me. Typically, I like to start off with rear delts for 2 reasons. One, once they're nice and warmed up, I feel safer for my pressing movements. And 2, most people, when we train, we look in the mirror, we train things like our chest, our biceps, maybe our quads. We give a little bit less attention to the backside as a whole. So for those 2 reasons, I like to start with rear delts. Now, cables, I like cables. I like doing single arm stuff, but I also really like doing face pulls. So I'm gonna show you guys 2 little upgrades you can do. Most of your gyms are gonna have like this style attachment, and you'll see most people do face pulls like this, where they get set up here, they pull the weight, come back just like this. That can work, but we can do better. I've always had a little bit of a problem with like where to put my thumbs, how exactly to hang on to these. I mean, I can do it, it's just not super comfortable. So that was one of the big game changers for me when I started using my Monkey Fist Grips, is having a better way to get my thumbs and really just hands on the attachment, so that I'm not thinking so much about my grip, I'm thinking about using my rear delts to pull myself back. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip this on here. That's tip number 1, finding a better way to hang on. And If you want to be able to spread wider, you can keep them set up the way they are. If you wanted to bring them in closer, they already have different knotting on here. So you could just attach right here, and then you have a slightly smaller spread. Like if you're doing triceps or something, you want to keep it closer together. So that was the first tip, just going ahead and getting a better attachment. The second tip is, in my opinion, getting your base. So you can do these standing. I just don't love it because, one, you really have to lean in and brace back. And a lot of people, let's just face it, they're gonna cheat and kind of throw themselves into the movement. So instead of that, trust me on this, it looks a little weird. A lot of people probably aren't gonna just wanna come in the gym and sit on the floor. But if you set this a little bit lower, and then you do come and sit down on the ground, now you have a really stable base here. You're not having to focus on maintaining as much tension in your torso or where your footing is. And then you can just do your set straight from the ground. So for me, I'll do 3 to 4 sets here. I'm just gonna come full range of motion back, a little bit of stretch at the bottom. The goal is to pretty much like, think of taking your thumbs and jabbing just outside of your eyes and pulling back, really focusing on that external rotation and using your rear delts. This is gonna, like I said, get a nice pump for your rear delts, get you warmed up, and put you in a safer position for your pressing movements later. All right, I just take them to failure. I'll do probably 3, 4 sets here, and then we'll move on to the next shoulder exercise. Gabe just showed me that instead of doing my typical grip here, which is easy for me, like I like this because I'm not worried about my grip. He said, if I go in and grab them like this, I can actually open up a little bit wider. So why not try new things? If you do the same thing you've always done, you're gonna get the same results you've always gotten. So if I don't like this, I never have to do it again. But if I do like it, then I have another tool in my tool belt for growing my delts. Haha, it rhymed. All right. So for me, that was a little harder for my grip. I don't have a very strong grip. I use straps for everything. So I think that is just another way that you could use this product. For me, I don't think that limited me. I didn't like lose my grip to where I couldn't get more reps. But if I was trying to get a stronger grip and I was starting my workout with these, I would definitely do it this way. I already have pretty big forearms, so I don't need to work on my grip too much from like a bodybuilding perspective. But if I did any other sports like grappling, MMA, rock climbing, I'd probably, if I did rock climbing, I'd just hang from these if I could. But at 250 pounds, it's probably not gonna work. All right, time to move on. Once we've warmed up our rear delts, I usually like to either move on to like side delts or fronts. Today, we're gonna do some kind of shoulder pressing just to get it started off and go heavy. So today will be a little bit of what I like to call the guess and check method. I'm doing a workout at a slightly different gym in a slightly different order. So there will be a bit of kind of figuring out the equipment, figuring out the weights. But maybe that can be another teaching tool. Like if you're on the road and you're not at your current gym, I can show you a few things. I think like today for this, I'm gonna take something from John Meadows. He had a trick where if you were doing a new exercise or something outside of the norm for you, you just do 8 reps. So 1, 2, all the way to 8. And then you add 10 or 20 pounds each side, and you do 8 more reps. And then you rinse and repeat until you have a set where you can't get 8. And then you kind of know where your working weight is. And since you're taking kind of a few sets to get there, your chance of injury is kept low. So that's going to be my goal here, is just to kind of slowly work this up to a really hard set and then hang out there and do a couple more sets as I go. So still really easy, but that's kind of what we want. We don't want the first and second set to be super, super difficult here. So I'm just going to add on. I think I can throw another quarter on there, and then we'll start probably adding tens. Very cool environment in this gym. People are always training hard, making noise. They have like old 90s training footage always playing on the TVs. So definitely, I mean, got Arnold on the wall behind you. So always easy to find some motivation in here. All right, another 8. Still pretty easy. Go find another 25, and that's the goal here. I feel my chance of injury is very low, but I'm still going to be able to get a good workout, even though I don't know exactly what weight I should pick off the bat. So if you're watching this video at home, you might be wondering why do we pick a machine over a barbell press or a dumbbell press? Phenomenal question. For me, barbell presses always kind of mess with my shoulders. It's just something about the movement being locked into place. Dumbbells are usually safe, for my shoulders at least. I'm just a little bit nervous to use extremely heavy dumbbells, get them up, not wiggle out of the seat or anything. Like I usually press like 120s in that range. Just a little bit higher chance for injury. When you get old like me at 32, maybe not quite old, but sometimes I feel like an old man. I do take injury prevention pretty seriously, and I want to finish the video for y'all. So this, very safe. You're locked into a fixed range of motion. And what that allows you to do, yes, it's a machine. Yes, you're missing out on some of the stabilizer muscles, but you can push hard, and you don't have to be a super expert on body mechanics to get really good at a machine versus like a dumbbell or a free weight. So it's good for beginners. It's easier to get into, and it's good for advanced people as well, because it allows you to train hard with less of that chance of getting hurt. All right, now it's starting to feel like something. Still got room to push, but this is getting harder. I'm gonna try and find my last 25, and then we'll probably go down to 10s. Call me weird if you want, but like, they gotta kind of match. Like, there's different 25s laying around, but I wanted 2 that were basically the same. Okay, so there we go. We found the one where we couldn't hit 8. I feel like this is another teaching moment for a lot of my clients. I'll be reviewing their footage, and on their working set, their form will get a little sloppy, and they'll be like, well, you should have seen my warm-ups in the earlier sets. I had really good form on those. I think it should be the opposite. The set that has the best form should be the heaviest one, because that's the one that you're most likely to get injured on. That's the one that you have the most weight on. So it's even more important when you go heavy to have good form than when you're going light. For example, if the weight's getting heavier, don't decrease your range of motion. Don't speed up your rep tempo just to get reps. Like, it's okay if you get a few less reps if they're quality reps. I'd rather see you do a set of 4 or 5 quality reps than a set of 15 where 10 of them don't even look what you're trying to accomplish with the exercise, or they're half range of motion on a hack squat or a leg press. Up.
Nice.
I always recommend you try for the last rep. People often ask me, how do you find failure? And there's literally only one way, is to go until you fail to get a full rep. Don't do it if it's gonna get you hurt. Something like this, I feel really safe. I can't drop it on myself. If something feels uncomfortable, I don't wanna break the machine, but like, I can just kind of drop it. So for these, it's pretty safe to go to failure. Might as well try. I'm gonna take one plate off, clean this up, get a few more reps, and then we'll move on to the next one. It's funny. was talking to Gabe off air a little bit, like just talking business. I actually went to school and I got my 4-year degree in business administration. I didn't learn shit. Like, they taught us about marketing and entrepreneurship and career development, but like, it was all basically teaching you to be a cog in the chain for another business. I wish they had said things like, get good at doing things that are uncomfortable. Like, if it's uncomfortable, like for me, it was uncomfortable to speak on camera for a number of years. Like, if you go look at my old posts, it's either crappy photos of food or it's me across the gym doing an exercise. Never me speaking to the camera. That's huge, because how are you going to sell something if you can't connect with the person on the other side? How are you going to market yourself? And not sell just to like sell some crappy product that doesn't matter, but like something that actually works that would benefit the other person. And then the other really big things is like growing a team. That was never explained to me in college, but I think that's going to be the reason I'm successful this year is by building out my team. And I've been seeing the Monkey Fist Grips team. They got a little group chat going. They're always talking. They're active in there. So I know they're going to be successful. This gym, it's not run by one person. They got a team. So if you're trying to start a business, if I could go back or my former business partner, I guarantee if either of us could go back in time on day one, we'd take out a loan and hire a business partner and then grow it from there. Because I don't care who you are, how self-made you think you are, you're holding yourself back if it's only you. And with all that, I'm going to go hit a set. Got to give y'all something in between the sets. Free advice. Save your 40 grand. Don't go to college. Just watch my videos. Let's go.
Yeah.
That was another lesson. You didn't know it because it happened in my head, but when I try to explain failure to people, another way that I do it is instead of negative, like, this is how I used to do it sometimes, like your parents are gonna die if you don't get another rep. Like, some people don't wanna go there mentally. Here's another way. I just got 10, because 10 was the number I told myself I wanted. Like, that's where I was gonna stop. And then I was like, what if there was $100,000 laying on the floor in cash right now? And Arnold Schwarzenegger appeared and said, you give me one more rep, the 100,000's yours. And I had that thought. I was like, damn, I wonder if I could earn that 100,000. So I went back and surprised myself and got 11. That's what's gonna make you a better bodybuilder. That's what's gonna take you to the next level, whether it's business, finances, relationships. Where can you give? Where can you grow? And when you think you've given all you can, how can you trick yourself to do a little bit more? So that's a free tip. I offer that to my clients. I often say, like, if I was gonna give you $100,000 for every extra rep after you stopped, how much money would you owe me? What I owe you? Sometimes people have said like 600,000. I'm like, I won't do that, but you'll get 6 more reps next week. Whew. The more I talk, the less I have to lift. And yes, even though you're tired because you just lifted all that heavy weight, you should still put your weights up when you're done. That's what a kind person would do. All right, guys, so we already warmed up with rear delts. We did some of our heavy pressing for front delts, but for most people, side delts is really what we want to grow. It's the thing that when you're standing on stage, it makes you look that much wider. If your side delts are really big, it can make your waist appear smaller. I need that. Probably everybody wants that. So we're gonna do a few things here. We're gonna do cable side raises, but I'm gonna give you at least 2 tips, probably more like 3 or 4 to make these way better. So most people, when they do a cable side raise, they get set up like this. They grab the cable attachment, maybe they lean into it a little bit, and they do their side raise just like this. And that's good. I would call this a good exercise, but why do good when you could do great or darn near perfect? So first tip to make these better, raise this up to about wherever your arm naturally hangs. Maybe slightly lower, in between your knee and your hips. The reason we're gonna do that is cables allow us to work in a different plane of gravity. So when you do your side raises with a dumbbell, they're gonna be the absolute hardest up here at the top, sort of hard here, and you have no tension down here. So all the tension is gonna be up top. When you grab a cable and you set it at the bottom, it's the same thing. The tension is all at the top. So if you move a cable up a little bit higher, go try it yourself. There's tension here, not a ton, a lot of tension here at this specific angle, and a little bit less tension at the top. So the reason we do this is to train these a little bit more in the mid-range of motion. And then we can finish up later on in the exercise, later on in the workout. You can go do dumbbells, you can do seated dumbbells, you can do a cable raised machine, any of those things. But this is gonna really hit that mid-range. Now, we wanna be very intentional with our hand placement, our elbow placement. This is probably the exercise I see people do more frequently wrong in the gym, or less optimal in the gym than just about any other. Everybody wants to lift more weight, so we always will tend to bring our front delts into the equation. We do that in two ways. One, having our thumbs up. Think about doing like a front raise. Usually do your thumb up for that. The other one is by driving through your wrists instead of through your elbows. So people will look like this. I'm gonna show the thumb and the pinky. They'll look almost like this. They'll look almost like a bird flapping their wings. And when you do that, you're getting a lot of front delt action. So to fix that, we're gonna do two things. One, I want you to drive through your elbow. Bring that elbow up. The next one that you'll see is this pinky sits a little bit higher than the thumb. Now we don't have to go crazy like this, but just a little bit higher. Doing just those two things. The difference between using my side delt right here like this versus using my front delt like this. It's a completely different movement. And if you're trying to train your side delts, you want to be intentional with that. Now, to make these even better, what we can do, of course, you know I'm gonna try and find a way to use these, so I'm literally driving here on the way to the gym. I'm like, how could I use these to make training my side delts even better? Well, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna drop down to one. I don't need two, doing a single arm exercise. Second thing is, I don't need all this extra slack here, so like I said, they got these knots built in. You can clip in right here, and then to get this out of the way, clip it back in up top. Now you've given yourself just this perfect little thing here, and if you notice, I can't mess this up. There is no way for me to pull with my thumb above my pinky. It puts you in this position to where you cannot make a mistake. So if you get here, I like to put my feet close. I like to lean a little bit, lock this arm out, almost like you're doing a tricep extension, and then drive up from the elbow. There is no way that you can do this without hitting your side delt. So that's a very long-winded way of saying this is what we're gonna do for side delts. Probably gonna do about 3 to 4 sets each side. And once that's done, I'm gonna show you guys a really cool finisher that you can do after this. So to do the other side, you just pivot, twist, change the hand. Remember again, you wanna put your feet here. If you start with your feet out here, the lean doesn't really matter. So you wanna be here so you can actually lean into the movement a little bit. And again, be able to train that side delt in the mid-range of motion. All right, I feel very warmed up. Let's go ahead and hit a set. Don't need to go super heavy for these. It's a small muscle group. If you're going heavy, you're probably cheating. Oh, I like this side. I can watch myself in the mirror. Couple other tips. I just try and share these with you as they come to mind. When you're training your side delts, I don't really like to have a big bend at the elbows, and you're probably not going to do that at the top. You'll be able to see that you're not getting that full range of motion. But what I see a lot of people do, especially with dumbbells, so they'll come out and then they'll think that the dumbbells have to touch, so they'll almost like kind of flex in a little bit. Dumbbells don't need to touch. You come out, flex your delt, and allow that delt to stretch towards the bottom. Maybe this is as far as it stretches. That's fine. If that's as far as it goes, you don't have to make them touch. That's the first one. Second one, to really make sure you are hitting your side delts, what I like to do is pretend that I'm standing in this hallway and there's these two walls really far from me, but if I touch them, I get a lot of money. So when I have dumbbells or like this, I'll think, okay, let's get that really wide, get out there as far as I can. If I can touch those walls, I'll make a lot of money, or I'll grow my shoulders a little bigger. One thing about like making a snow angel, you want to have the biggest snow angel possible. So you're not gonna make a snow angel like this, like a chicken. You're gonna come out as far as you can. So a couple little more tips to make sure you're getting the most out of these. Making snow angels, that's what we do in Florida. All right, that's feeling a little heavy. I really like to hit double digits maybe, so 10 or more. I'm gonna drop the weight just a little bit lighter for this third set. And then I'm gonna show you, you know what, I'll show you on this set a little extra intensifier or finisher that you can use that you probably haven't tried. Not many people have done this. So it's gonna start just like what we've been doing, but we're just gonna take this to failure. Okay, so I think that was it to failure. Now, this is where we can get a little creative. Step away from the machine. What this does is it makes the range of motion that where this is effective in a very, very short plane down here. So you wanna hold this arm straight again, almost lock out that tricep, feel a stretch, and then we're gonna just do little micro reps out of here. But it's not just like throw the weight, it's flex your side delt as hard as you can and get this short little range of motion and pump all that additional blood in there and completely forget how many reps you've done because you're talking, but it allows you to cross your body, get a little bit of a deeper stretch at the bottom than you could get with dumbbells. It's, after all those other reps, very difficult. Now I've very sufficiently trained this mid-range and bottom range, so then I can go do dumbbells later, and they're great at the bottom range and mid-range. They're a little bit harder at the top, so then I can train that top range later on in the workout. Now we get to do it again on the other side. I would recommend you always start with whatever arm is weaker. Same thing for legs. So if your right arm can do 12 reps on a curl, and your left can only do 10, don't start with your right and tire your body out and then try and ask your left to keep up. Do your left first, and then cap that for the right side to prevent you from growing imbalances. Okay. Woo! I'm gonna rest for a minute and do one more. So for that short range of motion, I didn't create it myself. I don't know who to give credit to, like maybe John Jewett, I don't know. Been using it for a number of years. But what I found is a lot of my clients, a lot of people, former athletes, military, got shoulder injuries, or maybe just gym rats, and they'll be like, oh, I can't train shoulders. So I'll be like, I want you to set the setting as light as it goes, walk away from the rack, and just do these little partial movements. Let me know how it feels. And be like, oh my God, I got a pump in my delts, everything feels good. Because usually it's somewhere up here where you're gonna start to develop those shoulder problems, like from a side raise or something like that. Like down here, this is very safe. It's your shoulders in the pocket. It's gonna be hard to get injured here, but you can still get a lot of blood flow and movement and even overload and go heavier than you can bring to the top. So if you have an injury, I am not telling you this is 100% safe. I'm just saying with my clients that have had injuries, this has typically been a safer place to put them. So I like this from a bodybuilder perspective on how to grow bigger. I like this on a longevity and health and wellness perspective on how to train safer and healthier. Gonna hit the last set and then on to the next. Woo, catch a cramp. All right, so next we're gonna hit some rear delts. I like to use these machines for a few different reasons. One, everything stays nice and even. You can't do two arms at once. Two, most gyms have them. They're easy to get set up on. And three, they have this chest support. So if you're doing like a bent over rear delt raise, you're you're really likely to swing, or kind of like I was alluding to with the face pulls, if you sit down into them, you create that more stable base. Biggest thing here though is making sure you adjust the seat for you. Everybody's built a little bit differently, but if you go to do your rear delt flies almost down here, like almost like where you'd like bench press from, if you go to do them down there, you're actually going to be using a lot of your lats to pull your rear delts back. And I've been at this for a long time, but I only learned this maybe a year ago. So what we're going to be much better off for actually hitting our rear delts is to have our hands a bit higher. You see my hands, they're not low, they're up pretty high, so that when I finish this movement, my hand, my elbow, and my rear delt are all in the same plane of motion. If I'm down here, it's almost more of like a row. But we want to be really intentional with those elbows so that we're hitting the rear delts. I'm gonna guess and check here. I'm not sure exactly the weight. Ooh, that's heavy. Might need to go lighter, but yeah, definitely gonna go lighter. Hey, sometimes you gotta figure stuff out on the fly when you're doing rear delt flies. All right, really like consciously thinking of pushing with my hand out. I almost think of like a swimmer and think of swimming back out to the side. So again, like driving from the bottom of your palm back. The other thing that people do on these a lot is they'll, sometimes especially newer lifters, they'll go lighter and they have really good range of motion, but like their arms will end up back here. You don't need to do that. You just need to go as far as your rear delt can get a very strong contraction. So if you're not sure, take your hand, you do this at home on your keyboard while you're watching, and squeeze back to here. Just squeeze to wherever your rear delt is most fully engaged. I guarantee it's not back like this. All right, all that said, let's go ahead and hit a set. I'm gonna really lean forward, punch my hands out instead of keeping them bent, and drive out and wide, make that snow angel again here. All right, went to failure, got a really good pump. I like these, they're again a pretty safe movement. We're gonna hit about 2 more sets here. Then I'm gonna show you a super secret squirrel superset for front delts, and then a finisher for side delts, and then we're out. So we're almost there, guys, just past the halfway point. This machine specifically has really good tension throughout the whole range. So basically, I just don't want anybody to cheat themselves. I don't want you to, fly back off of the handles there. I guess another area that people might miss out on and not be as optimal as possible is if it's this bottom part. So what a lot of people do, I understand, they'll load up a lot of weight and they'll keep their arms kind of bent like this. And when they get to this bottom part, their elbows stay wide and they let their wrists come in. My rear delts aren't gonna get anything here. If I really wanna make this hard on my rear delts, I have to lock out my arms and create that tension at the bottom so that they can get a really good stretch here and a contraction. A contraction is great. A contraction is a wonderful way to find your muscles. If you've never trained your rear delts before, even just doing some partial ranges of motion back here to get the contraction and find them is great. But if you want to grow, you're also going to need to get that stretch. This is a pretty solid piece of equipment. I don't have to do a whole lot of modifications here to make this work for me. Whereas like with the cable side raises, I wanted to raise them up to make it work for me a little better. This out of the box is pretty solid. What you might see, might look weird that I'm like up on my toes, but what I'm actually doing is I'm driving back with my toes so that my hamstrings can really push into the pad back here. And then all this tension back here allows me to push my chest forward. An alternative way that sometimes you'll see in my videos, I'll actually take my lower half out and I'll stand into the machine. And what this does is it locks my chest here so that I really can't cheat. There's no way to swing from here. So yeah, I'll jump in one like this. Actually, shockingly, this feels like 20 pounds lighter because I'm so driven hard into this with my chest that it feels significantly lighter because I'm being more efficient. I'm not losing as much tension in my upper body from a lack of a stable base. Good set. Do one more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when is it okay to cheat? On your partner? Never. In sports? Never. In the gym doing side raises? It depends. And now you're probably like, what the hell is he talking about? So I've set up a little mechanical drop set here for you. What that means is we're gonna use the same weight on both exercises, but one will be easier than the other. Basically exactly what I did on the last time, but just a different modality. So we're gonna do seated side raises. I'm gonna try and maintain very good form here. And remember, this is gonna train more at the top because this is where, just think about it. The dumbbell's in my hand, it's really pulling down from here, but not so much down here. I'm gonna do a full set there, and then I'm gonna cheat, but not on my partner. I'm gonna stand up and do some cheat reps here. So it will allow me to get a few more reps in the tank, a bit more blood in my delts, and my goal is gonna be to kind of throw the weight up, but then really control that negative down because we grow more in the stretch and more in the negative than in the concentric when we're flexing. We grow a lot less from flexing than we do from fighting that negative. If we grew just from flexing, we could just sit here all day long and just squeeze our muscles and grow. So I'm gonna go ahead, demonstrate the first set. I think I'm gonna aim for about 3 sets here, and then it's time to go eat. Now remember, we wanna keep our elbows above our wrists and our pinkies above our thumbs to get the best side delt activation out of these and to kind of keep the front delts out. Okay. So I couldn't get any more with good form, so now it's time to go ahead and cheat. I'm gonna throw it up, control it down. All right, 2 more like that and we're done. You'll see people doing like bicep curls, but they're not really using biceps. If your bicep curl looks like this, you're not using your bicep. You're driving through your legs. You're using your shoulders to bring it up. What I'm trying to do when I cheat on these, I'm not gonna use a weight because I'm tired. My goal is to use my hips to throw the weight up a little bit and to build up that momentum to allow me to get the weight up, and then I can slowly bring it back down. In an ideal world, I would have 2 henchmen, 1 on each side, and they would help me bring the weight up, and then I would control the negative. They would throw it up for me, and I would control it down. I don't have 2 henchmen, but I got 2 legs, so I can throw it up. It's just like negative. Like back in high school, I would do bench press, and I would control the negative, and you have your buddy help you bring it back up. It's not really a whole lot different there. It's just how else are you going to do it with these? So all that said, let me demonstrate another set. Now this one's going to be a bit harder because you're already fatigued, but just push through it. Goal is to challenge yourself, to go to failure, and to get as much blood flow into your delts as possible, while maintaining at least somewhat good form. Okay, couldn't get a full rep. Time to cheat a little bit. Now what if you tell me I'm such a good partner, I would never cheat, I don't cheat in sports, I'm not gonna cheat on side raises. All right, then you can do partial reps. You can stand and just bring it out as far as you can control. probably a little bit safer to do this method. If you have a shoulder injury, I would maybe do the partials. I don't have a shoulder injury, and I did still want to get some of that squeeze at the top, so that's why I'm throwing them up a little bit here to cheat. It's maybe a slightly more advanced technique, and if I was logbooking this, I would only count that first really strict set. I wouldn't count the cheat reps. Those I kind of just like, I go by feel. I don't want to be chasing numbers and be like, well, I just really need to cheat so I can get 20 reps today. Like, trust your body, trust yourself. I've worked with over 400 clients, but I still tell every single individual client, you know your body better than I do, better than anybody else. You're the one that lives in it. So trust yourself and see what feels good for you. What's gonna feel good for me? It's getting some nice food after this workout. All right, last set of the day. Last set, best set. Okay. Namaste.
It was such a good workout session with you, man. Thank you for inviting me out here and hosting me here at MetroFlex and having, introduced me to other great athletes and the owner of the gym, Matt. Such a wonderful facility, great pieces of equipment. So,
Yeah, I'm glad we got to do this. I feel like this was educational, informative, maybe even a little funny at times. I always try to put some humor in there.
awesome individual to work with, knowledgeable. I mean, he was giving tips, supersetting, being informative, very, very versatile movements across the gyms and variations. So I could really appreciate working out with the vegan bodybuilder today. And it was awesome, John. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, brother. And we'll keep it up. I mean, I think this is the coolest part of all of this, is the collaborative aspect. It's so lonely doing this by yourself. I didn't have a team for a long time, and it was all me. Not all me, like I did all the work, but like it felt alone. But being able to do this, I got to do a workout today, that side raise that I've never done before in my life, and I couldn't have done it without your product. So it's like, we just add.
Yeah, and you showed me something today about cueing with bringing that pinky and driving with the elbow and keeping that arm out so you can concentrate on hitting that rear delt. Yeah. Everybody's knuckles up, or they thumb
up. You thumb up and you're doing your front delts. So yeah, very cool. Okay, before we head out, where can the people get the Monkey Fist Grips?
All right, so you can check out our Instagram at MF Grips. We also have a website live. It's www.monkeyfistgrips.com.
It'll be right below, guys. It'll be the first thing. Click it. Check it out.
Absolutely. Check out. We have multiple colors in stocks. If we don't have your color in stock, one of the best ways is to just email us, what colorway you're thinking about, and that's how we can get it squared away. I answer all the DMs. We have a team that's behind the media, so it's not just me. We have guys like Thaddeus and a ton of other athletes that help support this mission. It's crazy where it started, and John was explaining, I went through a military disability to create, all this. It came from a great adversity, and to be able to change this and the opportunities that I'm getting now, there's having my life almost taken away from rope, and now I'm creating movement and creating life with rope. It's just, it's insane how it's all happening and coming together, and how everybody is now starting to meet and grow, and
I got a question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Would you change your story if you could? Would you go back and change anything?
Absolutely not.
So I think that's powerful, because you're in a cool spot right now. You're talking to all these people in the industry, and I just see you enjoy what I feel like watching you. You're enjoying what you're doing.
Yes.
For any of you that are going through something right now, whether it's a breakup, a loss of a parent, an injury, grow through this. I'm not
Absolutely.
trying to minimize what is happening right now, but the hardest things in your life are going to shape your life. And if you allow them to, they're going to let you grow. And look at you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite literally, I get the goosebumps, I get emotional, maybe because like I know where I came from and I know who I am now. And that's like the beauty of it is just the journey of growth. Things might be hard at some point. You might want to give up, but on the other side of that, there's a greener light.
Come here, brother. All right, y'all follow him.
Great session. You guys
right.
on my socials, make sure you follow the Vegan Bodybuilder. Great individual. I look forward to meeting with him here shortly. About midsummer, we're gonna have a lot more content coming out and another round of exercises and informative tips and tricks. So take it easy, guys.